Imagine this: you wake in the dead of night, not to the sound of an alarm or a passing car, but to something far stranger, a pressure, a pulse, a silent hum radiating from the center of your forehead. It's not pain. It's not a headache. It's something else. A presence. A knowing. As if a door you never noticed before has creaked open in the dark, and beyond it, a light, not one you see, but one you feel. You sit up, rub your temples, and try to dismiss it. But the sensation lingers. A whisper at the edge of your mind: you are being watched, not by someone else, but by a deeper, older part of yourself. What if this isn't just fatigue? What if it's the first tremor of something ancient, something buried, not in your skull, but in the very fabric of your perception? Here's the unsettling truth: you have an organ in your brain that science barely understands, mystics revere, and modern life has all but erased. The pineal gland, a tiny, pinecone-shaped structure, sits in the geometric center of your brain. It regulates sleep, dreams, and the rhythms of consciousness. But for thousands of years, across every major spiritual tradition, it has been called something else: the third eye. The Egyptians carved it into their hieroglyphs as the Eye of Horus. The Hindus mapped it as the Ajna chakra, the seat of intuition. Descartes called it the seat of the soul. And yet, in the age of fMRI scans and neural mapping, we treat it as a mere melatonin factory. A biological footnote. Why? Because admitting its deeper function would unravel something terrifying. You are not just a body. You are not just a mind. You are something far more vast, a being designed to perceive beyond the five senses, but systematically conditioned to forget. The silent war on perception. Think of the last time you truly saw something, not with your eyes, but with that inexplicable knowing, that gut-deep certainty. Maybe it was a premonition. A dream that came true. A voice in the stillness that warned you, guided you, spoke to you. Now ask yourself, why does modern culture dismiss these moments as coincidence? Why are we taught to distrust intuition, to favor logic alone, when history's greatest breakthroughs, from Einstein's relativity to Kekule's discovery of benzene, came through flashes of inner vision? What if the greatest censorship isn't of information, but of perception itself? Close your eyes. Place a finger on the space between your eyebrows. Press gently. That's where the third eye is said to reside. Now consider, what if your reality is a projection, a shadow play on the wall of a cave, and the third eye is the tool that turns you toward the light? What if every moment of déjà vu, every uncanny synchronicity, is a flicker of that dormant sense straining against its leash? What if the reason you feel unmoored in a world of infinite distractions is because you've been severed from your true compass? The one that doesn't point north, but inward? This isn't mysticism. This is neurology meets metaphysics. The pineal gland contains calcite microcrystals that behave like piezoelectric receptors, essentially, biological antennas. Ancient Vedic texts describe the third eye as a lotus that opens to higher dimensions. Coincidence? Or a truth we've been programmed to ignore? You are standing at a door. On one side, the world as you've been taught it is. A flat, material existence where the mind is a byproduct of the brain, and intuition is a fairy tale. On the other side, a reality where you are the architect of your perception, where time bends to consciousness, and the third eye isn't a metaphor, it's a muscle. The choice is yours. But before you step through, ask yourself one last question: what have you already seen, truly seen, that you've been too afraid to acknowledge? You felt it before, that whisper in the dark, that flicker of knowing just beyond the grasp of language. But the moment you try to hold it, to name it, it dissolves. Like a dream upon waking. Like a word stuck on the tip of your tongue. Why? Because there is a war being waged, not with bullets or borders, but with beliefs. A silent, centuries-old campaign to sever you from your own perception. The modern world operates on a single, unshakable dogma: what cannot be measured does not exist. This is the creed of scientific materialism, the belief that reality is purely physical, that consciousness is a fluke of biology, and that anything beyond the five senses is delusion. But this is not science. This is scientism, an ideology masquerading as fact. Thinkers like Carl Jung warned of this trap. He called the rational mind a two-dimensional lens, incapable of grasping the depths of the psyche. Aldous Huxley wrote of the reducing valve of the brain. a filter that dulls our perception to keep us functional in a world of survival. And Arthur Schopenhauer argued that the intellect is merely a servant of the will, not its master, meaning we do not see reality, but our own limitations. Yet here's the paradox: the very science we worship has already disproven materialism. Quantum physics reveals that particles exist in superposition. They are neither here nor there until observed. The placebo effect proves that belief can rewrite biology. Near-death experiences describe realms beyond the brain's activity. The data is there, but we ignore it. Why? Because to accept it would shatter the illusion of control. Viktor Frankl, survivor of Auschwitz and founder of logotherapy, wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response." But what if that space is not just psychological, but perceptual? What if the third eye is the organ that widens that space, allowing you to see beyond the immediate, beyond the conditioned, beyond the programmed? This is why it has been suppressed. Organized religions demonized it as heresy, fearing direct revelation would bypass their authority. Empires criminalized it, labeling seers and mystics as threats to social order. Consumerism drowns it out, flooding your senses with distraction so you never look inward. Even language betrays us. We call intuition a gut feeling, reducing a cosmic sense to a bodily quirk. We dismiss visions as hallucinations, rather than considering they might be transmissions. From birth, you were taught, stop daydreaming. That's just your imagination. Be realistic. Each phrase was a brick in the walls of your perception. Each dismissal a nail in the coffin of your inner sight. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote, "Hell is other people. But the deeper hell is internal. The prison of a mind that has been trained to distrust itself." Children report invisible friends, past life memories, and encounters with spirits until they are shamed or laughed out of it. Indigenous cultures retain practices to cultivate the third eye, while the developed world pathologizes them as superstition. Artists, poets, and inventors speak of muses and sudden downloads of insight, yet we strip these experiences of their mystery, calling them creativity instead of contact. Even your own brain conspires against you. The default mode network, DMN, the brain's ego-centering mechanism, constantly reinforces the illusion of a separate, stable self. It filters out anomalies, creates narratives to explain the unexplained, and keeps you tethered to consensus reality. Meditation, psychedelics, and near-death states disrupt the DMN, which is why they've been revered, or banned, throughout history. They force the door of perception ajar. But the system wants that door bolted shut. You are left with a choice: accept the world as you've been told it is, a flat, mechanistic accident where consciousness is a ghost in the machine. Or confront the terrifying, exhilarating possibility that you are more than a body, more than a mind, that you are a being designed to see through the veil, but have been gaslit into forgetting. This is not about the belief. This is about courage. The courage to question everything you've been taught about reality. The courage to admit that the very institutions claiming to guide you have a vested interest in keeping you blind. The third eye is not a myth. It is a muscle, one that has atrophied under the weight of centuries of suppression. But muscles can be rebuilt. You walk through life believing you are free. You make choices: what to eat, where to work, who to love, convinced that your will is your own. But what if the deepest, most consequential decisions you make are not truly yours? What if your perception has been so thoroughly hijacked that you no longer even recognize the theft? This is the silent catastrophe of the sealed third eye. You are living in a reality designed for you, not by you. Every day, you are bombarded with thousands of images, sounds, and messages, each one carefully engineered to trigger a reaction. Advertisements manipulate your desires. News cycles dictate your fears. Social media algorithms shape your thoughts. And all the while, you believe you are thinking freely. But true freedom begins with perception, the ability to see beyond the programmed inputs. Without an open third eye, you are not a thinker. You are a reactor. Your brain takes shortcuts, favoring familiar narratives over uncomfortable truths. Confirmation bias, sunk cost fallacy, and the bandwagon effect keep you trapped in loops of predictable behavior. From childhood, you were handed a script: success means a career, love means marriage, purpose means consumption. Deviate from this, and the collective unconscious recoils. A closed third eye leaves you terrified of ambiguity, addicted to certainty, and desperate for external validation. This is not an accident. This is by design. When you cannot see beyond the immediate, you become a slave to your own suffering. Anxiety is the terror of a mind trapped in time, unable to perceive the bigger picture. Depression is the weight of a world stripped of meaning, because meaning requires depth, and depth requires vision. Addiction is the futile attempt to fill a void that was never physical to begin with. Ancient traditions understood this. They spoke of the third eye as the antidote to Maya, the illusion of separation. But modernity pathologizes the symptom while ignoring the root. You are spiritually blindfolded, then punished for stumbling. Look around. The world is burning, not just ecologically, but psychically. Polarization, alienation, apathy. These are not random failures. They are the inevitable result of a civilization that worships the tangible while denying the unseen forces that truly govern existence. Politics becomes theater because a populace that cannot see through manipulation is easily controlled. Art is reduced to entertainment because a culture that fears the numinous will never tolerate true revelation. Science is stunted because a paradigm that denies subjective experience can never explain consciousness. Even spirituality is commodified, watered down into self-help platitudes and Instagram affirmations. The third eye is not a trendy accessory. It is a threat to the established order. Here is the most insidious consequence of all: you have forgotten who you are. Without the third eye, you identify with the surface, your job, your relationships, your possessions. But these are shadows. The real you exists in the spaces between thoughts, in the silence beneath noise, in the visions that flicker at the edge of sleep. Do you remember your dreams? Or have they faded by morning, like tears in rain? Do you trust your hunches? Or do you dismiss them, only to regret it later? Have you ever felt, in a moment of utter stillness, that you were on the verge of remembering something essential, only to have the world rush back in and drown it out? These are not fantasies. They are memories, echoes of a capacity you still possess, but have been taught to ignore. The crisis of our time is not economic, or political, or environmental. It is perceptual. We are a species that has lost its ability to see. And until that is restored, no solution will ever be enough. But there is a way out. The greatest prison is not made of steel or stone. It is made of ideas, ingrained assumptions that dictate what you believe is real, possible, and permissible. To open your third eye is not merely to see more. It is to stage a revolution against the very foundations of your conditioning. This is not transcendence. This is insurrection. You have been taught that reality is fixed, that the world simply is, and you must adjust to it. This is a lie. Reality is a negotiation. Every moment, your brain filters out 99% of sensory data to construct a coherent narrative. The third eye is the faculty that overrides this filtration. To activate it, you must first accept a radical truth: you are not a passive observer. You are an active participant in the creation of your experience. Test it, for one day, assume every coincidence is meaningful. Every gut feeling is a message. Every dream is symbolic. Watch how reality bends to meet your expectation. Then invert it. The next day, assume the universe is dead, random, indifferent. Feel the world flatten. Conclusion: your baseline perception is a setting, not a fact. And settings can be changed. Rebellion requires tactics. These are yours. 1. The black mirror technique. Your smartphone is not the problem. Your surrender is. Each morning, before checking devices, stare into a dark screen, phone off, monitor off, black mirror. In that reflection, ask, who owns my eyes today? The moment you feel compelled to look away, that is the exact threshold where your autonomy begins. 2. Dream interrogation. Dreams are third eye data streams. Most dismiss them upon waking. You will weaponize them. Keep a dream journal in the second person, e.g., you were fleeing a faceless pursuer instead of I was running. After a week, read entries aloud. The subconscious speaks in metaphor. These are personalized ciphers to your blind spots. 3. The 17-second challenge. Set a timer for 17 seconds, the average attention span before mental narration begins. Observe any object, a tree, a cup, your hand. At 17 seconds, notice how your mind labels the experience. That's an oak, this coffee is cold. These labels are the bars of your perceptual prison. The space between them is where raw awareness lives. The diet of the seers. Your pineal gland is under siege. Fluoridated water, processed foods, and electromagnetic pollution calcify this organ. The ancients knew vision requires biochemistry. Eat like a monk, fasting triggers autophagy, cellular cleansing critical for pineal decalcification. Raw cacao, phenylethylamine for neural activation, chaga mushroom, melatonin precursor, blue lotus, an Egyptian visionary herb. 10 minutes of morning sunlight directly on the forehead resets circadian biology and stimulates photoreceptor cells in the pineal. 3 forces will resist your mutiny. Expect crushing disinterest around day 3 of any practice. This is not fatigue, it's the immune response of your conditioned mind. Lean into the boredom until it becomes a form of meditation. This is silly, unscientific, self-indulgent. Note when these thoughts arise, they cluster around breakthroughs. Respond, prove that skepticism isn't just fear in a lab coat. As perception expands, you'll glimpse how many prefer their chains. This isolation is initiation. Remember, awakening is not about fixing the world. It's about seeing it clearly for the first time. Within 40 days of consistent practice, expect high-frequency tones, often left ear, a signal pineal activation. Geometric patterns herald the visual cortex rewiring. Second stretch, hours compress, your brain is recalibrating to nonlinear perception. These are not anomalies. They are milestones. Here lies the fulcrum. The moment your third eye begins opening, the system will offer you distractions disguised as rewards, esoteric knowledge, psychic parlor tricks, spiritual vanity. These are traps. True sight has only one purpose, to perceive reality without the filter of fear. Everything else is decoration. If you've made it this far, you're already different. Not better. Not enlightened. But awake enough to know something's been stolen from you, and bold enough to want it back. The third eye is not opened with thoughts alone. It's biology and intention. Steel and spark. The ancients didn't just meditate, they prepared. They purified. They used tools. So must you. That's why I've linked one below, a pineal gland oil crafted for clarity, for focus, for remembrance. It's not a magic potion. It won't open the door for you. But it will quiet the noise so you can find the handle. You'll find the link in the comment section. Use it with ritual. With stillness. With the seriousness of someone reclaiming stolen fire. You are not here by accident. And the door is already ajar. True sight has only one purpose, to perceive reality without the filter of fear. Everything else is decoration.